No doubt that was an exciting time for country music. I mean, it seemed like that 90s explosion popularized it and made it more of a worldwide phenomenon and not just what us, small town country folk in America listen to. After the 90s, it blew up everywhere, it seemed like.
And dancing had a lot to do with that. People just started this, this line dancing stuff started taking over. Clubs, big Texas clubs were packed, with people coming and doing line dance. I didn't have a lot of music that you could line dance to, but I started quickly, looking at recording some because that was kind of how your music went viral before the internet. You had all these chains of honky tonks and dance clubs that could afford national acts, and if you had like one or two hits, you toured the Texas market and the big dance halls. And so, because DJs would play your dance version of your record or whatever, or they might pull an album cut off your album, and it might become a hit in the club. And I think they even had their own chart. And that was sort of an indication you could have a radio hit with that, So that was a big deal. The dancing and everything was huge for country music. And then we were, Garth included, probably absolutely the leader on this was, hey, country artists, we can put on a show like, like Led Zeppelin. We don't have to just stand up there and play our guitar and sing our hits. Why can't we have flash bombs going off? Why can't we have a rock show, for country? So when two things, when it became music you could dance to and a concert that was exciting to go see, it exploded. And I would say Garth led a lot of that right there. But a lot of other people are just doing good, solid. Had kind of the tale of Randy Travis, who sort of set us back on the traditional sound and path. It was just a good time. A lot of things came together during that decade of the 90s. I was glad to see it come back around.
You won't find a bigger Garth fan than me. However, was there a dissension among the ranks when it started going that way? Were there artists that were a little bit hesitant to, put on that big rock type of show?
Oh yeah, there was a definite rift. There was a big rift between hat acts and hair acts. There was a big rift because what happened was, the marketing people, you put on a cowboy hat, man, it was okay for a Texas guy to have your CD sitting in his truck if the artist had a cowboy hat on, it was like, hey, he's one of us. But out of respect to George Strait, I wasn't a cowboy. I wasn't going to pretend to be a cowboy. I was a farmer.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up farming, and that's different in Texas and ranching and cowboy and all that. But so I was more, hey, the Eagles, the sort of the 70s rock, that California rock. I was more, into that, like Haggard, he was a California guy. Dwight Yoakam, those guys were kind of California country. In fact, I won my awards in California, Academy of Country Music. And so it was, there was a big riff between, hey, don't put on a cowboy hat and Wrangler jeans if you're not really authentic, a cowboy. That was kind of my philosophy. It would be a slap in the face. But man, it became a marketing thing, and everybody started wearing cowboy hats because it was kind of masculine, and it was, you could get the male buyer to buy music. It's a lot more than you could get them to, buy me with big old long hair, me in Little Texas, long hair, and Travis Tritt, being a Southern rocker, all his long hair. We were probably like the bad, the anti establishment, I guess you could say. But I didn't do that. I was a farmer and I was a country boy, but I loved acoustic music and I loved pretty music, and I liked that 70s soft stuff. I just liked all that. And Haggard, I liked the crooners, and so it was a big rift between hat acts and hair acts. We were saying, hey, all hat acts are not authentic, but all of our hair acts are authentic.
The marketing ploy worked because it at least turned attention, and that way people were looking at all of country music, and the hair acts at least probably benefited from at least that, from the exposure, even though you were the ones being more authentic.
Well, I tell you what, we had the young girls at our concerts. That was
yeah, there you go.
That's all I say. That was I was coming up. Country music was the music of your parents. It wasn't among the young folks, and that's what really was so incredibly exciting about the 90s. I felt like a rock star, in the 90s, and I was a country music singer, and we just never thought we'd ever see the day where, teenagers and college people would be coming to a country music concert,
No doubt about it. And you were one of many who led that charge in making country cool again, at least to the general masses, because I always thought it was cool. Some iterations I prefer more than others, but it's all good and it's all country. Sadly, we're just about out of time, Billy, but I did want to mention before I let you go that you are touring right now, and in fact, you're coming to Branson. It's coming up in May, and you get to Branson quite often.
I do. I had a show there for about 4 years, I guess, and my wife and I both, fell in love with Branson. In fact, we got a little property still up in Branson, and my daughter, like I said, is up in Springfield, so we almost feel like it's a second home. We spend a lot of time between there, Nashville, and Florida, where I live now. So I'll be back up there in May, actually playing with, I just found this out, playing with the great Pat Boone. I can't believe that. Pat Boone and I wrote a little tribute to Billy Graham several years ago, and it'll be good to see his face again. And we'll be at the Legends at the Dick Clark Theater, I believe it's where it's going to be. And
yep.
I'll be doing some of this new stuff. So hopefully some of your listeners maybe make it out. That'd be awesome.
Oh, anytime I can get to Branson, I try to do it. I love going out there. Not too far of a trip, but far enough you feel like you're getting away from eastern Missouri anyway. Billy, thank you so much for your time and coming on the Honky Tonk Time Machine with me tonight. It's been a real pleasure.
All right, Glenn, enjoyed it, buddy. Have a good summer.